I had so much fun and gained lots of valuable hands-on growing experience through my greenhouse crops this semester. We potted poinsettias, Gerber daisies, Monstera deliciosa, which we started from seed gifted from James' greenhouse, asters, coreopsis, monarda, salvias, petunias, verbena succulents, pansies, ornamental kale and ornamental cabbage, violas, and herbs. All of these starts were potted into plastic nursery pots with Sungrow Metro Mix as substrate. Once the plants were planted in their nursery pots, it was my responsibility to keep them alive and happy. All of my plants established well and grew throughout the semester. The plants that had flowers had to be pinched regularly in order to promote foliage growth. It was amazing how many flowers the petunias and pansies produced. I fertilized my plants with 150 ppm nitrogen solution using Jack's 15-5-15 with a 1:100 ratio injector. We did this by adding 568 grams of fertilizer to 1.5 gallon buckets. I watered my plants with this fertilizer concentrate every day until all the plants were well established, and then 3 times a week after that. About halfway through the semester, I increased the ratio of fertilizer for the poinsettias to a 1:50 ratio, which increased the rate to 300 ppm of nitrogen. However, I noticed that at the end of the semester and during my plant evaluations, that my plants were somewhat smaller than others in the greenhouse. I think I could have fertilized more throughout the semester to make sure that my plants had all the nutrients that they needed. Throughout the semester, I tracked the electrical conductivity and the pH of all my plants to make sure that my fertilization method was effective and that the pH of my plants was in a range that allowed the nutrients in the soil to be available to them. These EC and pH tests were helpful in understanding how my fertilization practices affected my plants. I noticed that my EC increased as my fertilization increased, meaning that my plants had more nutrients available in the soil to them. However, I did notice that as the semester progressed, my EC tended to be a little low, which means I could have increased my fertilization and kept an eye on my pH to make sure it didn't get too high. It is important to keep an eye on the pH while fertilizing because too high or too low a pH makes nutrients unavailable to the plants, which can inhibit growth and result in issues with production. This picture shows the station where my classmates and I took our EC and pH tests. Another production step I took was applying growth regulators to the poinsettia plants so that the foliage would turn red at the correct time of year. I applied a 1.5 ppm Psychocell solution to a 5,000 milliliter beaker and then applied this to the poinsettias with a mister until the leaves were dripping. We also pinched these poinsettias so that they would be the proper height and fullness. Overall, I did not notice many problems with pests, but I did notice the presence of fungus gnats and sometimes whiteflies. As suggested by Pam, I put out sticky traps in order to track the amount of fungus gnats and on which plants they were most prevalent. These pests did not have any serious impact on my crops, and they seemed like an insignificant aspect of my crop production. Overall, this project was very fun and rewarding. I enjoyed taking care of my plants and learning about soil testing and fertilization methods. It was amazing to see my bench go from having just one lonely tray to overflowing with happy plants.